Welcome back to 78 Reflections. My name is Patty Elaine, and I'm so glad you're here. Today we are going to do a week ahead spread. And as you can see, it is a 9-card spread, and it may be a bit of a long one. So if you don't already have a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage, you might want to pause the video now and get yourself one, get cozy, and settle in for some tarot time. So over the last few weeks, I have been doing week ahead spreads. I was doing daily wobble spreads, but then I switched to week ahead spreads. And what I've done is I've chosen 8 key areas of my life that I want to focus on, and you can see them written on the index cards on the table. And for each area, I paired it with a deck. I did a bit of an interview process. And so what I've been doing is each week I shuffle the cards and I ask, what's the most important thing for me to know for the week ahead? And so when I read the cards, I'm trying to read them more intuitively based on my first impression, maybe lightly consulting the guidebooks, especially for the decks I'm not too familiar with. But I'm trying to just take my first impression on what I think the card is telling me about the week ahead. And then through the week, I have tasks that I want to do in each of these categories. And when I feel I've accomplished the task for the week, then I draw a card from the same deck as a reflection about, what is one thing I can take away from my experience this week. And so I only draw a reflection card if I achieve that task this week. And so some weeks I achieve all of them. Most weeks there's at least one category I don't achieve. But then for my week ahead spread, I draw all the categories. And so today I might talk a little bit about my reflections from last week. We'll just see how it goes. But we're going to start down in the lower left corner with prosperity. So for my prosperity goal, it's really about more mindfulness towards my spending. And my main task that I do for that is Money Mondays. I did accomplish this goal last week. And it was really interesting. I do want to share these cards with you before we look at the card for the week ahead. So last week, if you tuned in, the card was the 5 of Swords. And what resonated with me for this is just about when it comes to mindfulness of spending, I think it's hard to really feel like you've won, because if you're saving all your money, you're probably not having a lot of fun. And if you're spending money, you're probably having fun, but maybe not doing the best towards your financial goals. So for me, it's all about a balance. And I could feel this in the last week, I could feel this energy of, what kind of a bit of a conflict between what's most important. And the 5 of Swords to me is about that. It's the 5 is the conflict card in the trajectory, and Swords is about your mind and your thoughts and ideas. So that was definitely resonating with me. And when I pulled a card for reflection, I got the 9 of Swords. So the 9 of Swords is a nightmare card, and this is a really interesting depiction of it because you can see the insects and bats, and there's a eagle trying to talk to her, but she's covering up her eyes. It's, the 9 of Swords is a nightmare card, and I definitely was doing some ruminating, and when I did my Money Monday, I didn't do it on Monday, but I did it on a different day of the week. I was definitely, feeling like I had made some unwise choices with my spending. So I do think that is something that I reflected on for the last week. So now thinking about this coming week, the Queen of Swords. So for me, the Queen is the expansive energy of that suit. So swords is of the mind. It's interesting that my prosperity cards have all been swords, or a lot of them have been swords. And I think it makes sense because a lot of it is will. And a lot of my goals around money is about mindfulness, which makes sense that that's then swords. So this is an interesting depiction of the Queen of Swords. So I think of the Queen of Swords as like a surgeon. She cuts away what's not important, and she really zeroes in on what is important. And in this depiction, you can see somebody maybe a little older talking to someone a little younger, and they've got pen, paper, maybe some stickies. So to me, it even though their expressions are pretty hopeful, I don't know, for me, maybe I'm just projecting my goals and my prosperity on this card, but it seems like maybe they're doing some financial planning. So that's an interesting card for the week ahead. I'm doing some travel this week, and it's business travel, so there won't be a whole lot of, well, I guess if I choose to go shopping, but maybe I can choose not to do that. Maybe I can use the Queen of Swords, clear thinking energy to guide me this week in my making mindful choices with my money. So the category above that, Refuge, for me, Refuge is spirituality. And, what I do for that is often a Season of the Witch Oracle. It's connecting with the Sabbats. It could be a moon ritual. We have a full moon coming up tomorrow. I didn't feel like I achieved this last week. And so I didn't draw a reflection card. So this is the One of Fire. Now in this is the Book of Shadows as above deck. It does not read in the Waite-Smith format. So I am going to take a quick peek at the guidebook just to see what it has to say about this One of Fire. The Ace of Fire is the Sun. And it's talking about, the power of the sun keeping the planets in their orbits. And that besides being an intense gravitational provider, the sun is a solar system source of heat and light. It represents strong personal energy. And I think that, last week, this was my card for last week. And my interpretation of that's the Nine of Cups, was, what you invest in this, you get back many times in return. And I think this Refuge card is a general reminder of that. I chose this as a important category of my life. And so, even if I do something small, which I think the Ace card is often something small, that, just the sun is this source of energy, that it could energize me, which is something I'm sorely desiring right now. So that's a beautiful, beautiful card for Refuge. For Vitality, this is my health and wellness. It's self-care. And last week's cards were, this healing chaos. And then during the week, my reflection card was miracles. And, I think that the messages from that card is when you're going through or chaotic times, you have to go where the peace is. And this courage card reminds me of strength. And I got 2 strength cards in my reflections last week. And so I think, again, we see some chaos going on, but yet there's this beautiful, light in the sky that says the sun is coming. And so I think this is telling me to have faith. This is a busy season, but it's not going to last forever. And so I think that is a really perfect message for me for the week ahead. So insights for me is all about my personal growth. It's about learning. A lot of this is about the tarot and my deck and stroll, which I have been working on this week. And look at this Queen of Trees. So this is the Witch Sisters deck, and it also does not read Waite-Smith. So I do want to take a look at the book, but this would be probably a fairly close equivalent to the Queen of Pentacles. And for me, the Queen is the expansive energy of that suit, and Trees is Pentacles, which is, the earthly realm. It's about our earthly resources and managing of resources, not just things, but also, our time and our energy. And so when it comes to, insights, I think this is a really interesting card because I think it speaks towards nurturing, not just of self and others. And I think that, if I view my learning and personal growth as a thing to do, it feels different than when I see it as something that nurtures me. In the same way, this Ace of Fire card is saying that my spirituality, my refuge, will energize me, provide me with warmth, and help sustain me. I feel like this is a similar message. So going down here, stewardship is care of my property. And I'm trying to remember what my cards were from last week. Let's see if I have them handy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this kind of freaked me out last week because I got the Moon card. And the Moon card, for me, is about what you can't see. It's about what's in the shadows. So that freaked me out a little bit with stewardship because I have been extremely focused on work and other things and not really doing much around here. So it made me worry about what it was all about. So let's see. The Hanged One. Great. Last week I was hoping for the Hanged One. I can't remember in which area, but I was like, I need to focus on work this week. Can you just give me a breather? And for me, that's what the Hanged One does. The Hanged One says, you know what? You can just relax, hang tight, and there's nothing that can't wait. So that's a lot more reassuring than the Moon card because I was really curious if something was going to leap out of the shadows at me. Nothing did, in case you're wondering. But so that's how I'm interpreting the Hanged One. How would you interpret it in this context of stewardship, care of property, my house, my car, all those things? It could mean a perspective shift is needed, but let's just say everything's great. And we'll wait till I get back from my trip. So pursuits is passion projects. A lot of it is my YouTube channel. And the 7 of Wands. This deck, this is the Tarot Landscapes. This deck has been confusing me a little bit. And I'm trying to stay away from the guidebook and just read it intuitively. Last week I got the Queen of Pentacles, and I think I was pretty confused about that, especially because the guidebook also confused me. But, this is an interesting one because I do have some passion projects that I'm very nervous about moving forward with. And for me, especially with this image, like the Seven of Wands the 7 card in the numerology is about discernment. And the Wands is about passion. So that makes sense with pursuits, passion projects. And oftentimes the card is about, standing your ground. But I think on this one, it might be about taking a bigger picture view and kind of raising your gaze and taking a look from, when you see this little penguin, I don't know if you can see that it's a penguin, but there's a little penguin on top of this iceberg. It's like this little guy can see a lot from up there. And it looks like it might be an eclipse as well. So I don't feel like I have a lot of bandwidth for this right now, but I do think it's worth considering how can I take a bigger picture view on the passion projects that I'm contemplating. And, maybe next week I'll come down off the iceberg and figure out what I need to do. Impact. So this is my job, this is my career. I loved my cards last week. They were so amazing and helpful. The first one was the Star card, and that was really great because, I thought I was going to get the 10 of Wands card coming into last week, and that's really what I was bracing myself for. But the Star card was such a beautiful reminder of finding my center and being still and just knowing that I have the ability to shine bright and that I'm already enough exactly as I am. Not to say there wasn't hard work this week, there was, but I found this a very gentle and calming reminder. And then I did achieve what I felt I needed to achieve to get a reflection card. And I think that card was equally powerful because it was the Strength card. And for me, the Strength card is about accepting all parts of yourself and really, leaning in with gentleness and acceptance and patience. And I think that was something I did really learn this week, is that's a calmer, more effective way forward than maybe my usual tactics. So let's see what the Tarot of the Abyss has to offer for this coming week. Well, the King of Wands is, I think, a beautiful message for the week ahead because I'm going to facilitate an in-person program. And, the King is the master energy of the suit. And Wands is passion. And I am extraordinarily passionate about my work. I love what I do. I feel so lucky to be able to do my dream job. And, this King of Wands, he's the fire keeper. And, I think that's what a facilitator does. I think the facilitator is a fire keeper. And the important thing about the facilitator or the fire keeper is to remain calm, to stay on top of it, to make sure there's enough fuel, but you don't want to burn through all your fuel. You want it to last through the evening. You're the person that people can come to if they need support. And I think that is a great energy for me to bring into the coming week. Excellent. So then adventure. So this is fun, family, friends. That's what adventure is all about. The Chariot card. Well, the Chariot card, you might know, is one of my favorite cards because of the Chariot spread that the Mindful Tarot introduced me to. That's Esther. And I do wobble readings inspired by the Chariot. So I'm very familiar with this energy. And it makes sense to me based on what I know is coming for the week ahead, that the Chariot card comes up, because for me, it's about navigating competing energies with sureness and steadiness. And you can see here this witch feels a little conflicted because she doesn't know if she should go this way or that way. And probably what she should do is just go forward. So I think that is a beautiful energy for me, given what I have in the week ahead. So last but not least, the archetype card. Last week I had the Vessel. And this is kind of like an overall message about the week. The Temple. And so for me, that was really just reinforcing go where the peace is, the Star card, the Chaos card. And that was a good reminder that I revisited frequently during the week. So let's see what it is for this week. Ooh, the shadows. Oh no, it's a Moon card all over again. So the Shadow is an interesting overarching card. And I'm going to take a real quick look at the guidebook here, just to see what it has to offer me. These Roman numerals, I'll tell you, they're going to do me in, especially in this deck. Although every card in the archetype deck has a shadow potential, this card asks us to delve into the qualities of the shadow itself. We often think the shadow can be purified, illuminated, and made right through effort and achievement. However, it is typically the case that our lofty pursuit of ascension and perfection is the very source of shadow material itself. By rejecting parts of ourselves and the world, we begin to separate from the whole. Rather than getting to know the qualities and content of our shadows, we busy ourselves with avoiding its presence. This is denial. When this card appears, it is time to take inventory of those things you've been denying. When the mind responds with no, anything but that, you're touching a shadow. Move towards the shadow with patience and compassion. Well, that's, to me, that's bringing up a lot of the Strength card, about embracing all parts of self, accepting all parts of self. And, the things that make me great can also be my Achilles heel. My passion can drive me to being a workaholic and a perfectionist. It's really hard on myself. But you have to take the good with the bad. And so if you want to be passionate, you have to understand that is all part of it. And I think it's about not saying to accept, okay, great, then I get to be a workaholic. I don't think that's what it's saying at all. I think it's just saying that accepting that all that is good also has a shadow. And so it's working within it rather than rejecting it. And so I think this is a really powerful reading for the week ahead. I was sort of wondering if I should make time for this today. I wasn't sure if I really had time for it, but I'm really glad that I did. I'm off now for the next week, and I look forward to, I won't be able to pull cards this week because I'm not going to be bringing all these decks, but I look forward to, I'm going to take a picture, and I'll have this video to reflect on and think of as I move through this week. So I thank you for being here. Please like this video if you do, and subscribe if you'd like to hear more from me. I will be back next week for another week ahead spread, and I hope to see you then. Until then.